Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. As you've seen by the title, today's video is just going to be server horror stories slash just crazy things that have happened to me as a server. I'm going to try and make this a series because I've got so many stories between so many different jobs that I definitely for sure could not get all of them into one video. So today I'm just going to be telling 3 little stories of just crazy stuff that's happened to me as a server. So the first story I'm going to tell actually just happened last weekend on Cinco de Mayo, the restaurant that I work at. So this guy came in as like this old, older 50, 60-year-old guy maybe. And he comes in and he seats himself, and this is, if you're a server, then obviously 9 times out of 10 you don't just seat yourself at a restaurant. So I went up to him and I was like, hey, how's it going? Immediately cuts me off and he's like, y'all have shrimp? Yeah, what kind do you want? We've got the shrimp appetizer, shrimp dinner. Cuts me off again. I want the shrimp appetizer. Try to ask him how does he want, mild or hot or a different flavor? Cuts me off again, mild. And he asked me for a margarita because that was one of the specials for Cinco de Mayo, was $4 margaritas. So I put in his margarita, and I don't know about other restaurants, but the way the one I work at does, they've got a seating chart at the front at the host stand, and they'll write down the last the 2 minutes of whatever hour it is that your table came in and sat down. That way you kind of have an idea of how long they've been there. And I don't remember what time they wrote down, but I looked up at the board. From the time the guy sat down to the time he asked me for a second margarita, I brought him his margarita right away, he finished it. From the time this guy sat down to the time he asked me for a second margarita was 6 minutes. 6 minutes. So I go up to my manager because he asked for a second one. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I go up to my manager already because he was at the host stand, and I was like, look, you can ask the host. This guy's been acting really weird already. He literally, from the time he sat down to finish, from the time he sat down to the time he asked me for a second margarita was 6 minutes. Do I keep serving him or what? He said, go ahead and just give him one more margarita, and after that, just go ahead and cut him off. From the time this man sat down to the time he asked for a third margarita, 15 minutes. And I'm really bad at cutting people off. I've only had to do it, I think, one other time. And nobody ever takes it well. If your server cuts you off, guys, I know you're probably drunk if they have to cut you off and you're gonna try to argue about it, but if your server cuts you off, please just shut up and leave, It's for a reason. So he asked me for a third one, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Sorry, I don't think I'll be able to bring in another one for you. And he's like, well, why not? And I was like, oh, you've been going through them kind of fast, that's all. I just want to make sure you get home safe, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, well, fine, I'll take my check. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, and the guy was for sure drunk. So I bring him off the printed copy of his check. Mind you, this is just the printed copy. There's nothing for him to sign. He has not paid yet. This is literally just the printed copy with his total on it. And we're really slow at this point. So I'm walking around. I keep walking by every few minutes to see if I see a card sticking out of the book or cash or whatever, so I can go ahead and take it. And he stops me after a couple of minutes and he's like, hey, can I see a pen? And I'm like, well, obviously he hasn't paid yet, so there's nothing for him to sign. But I gave him a pen. I just figured, cool, he's gonna write me a really nasty note for cutting him off, or write a note to the manager because I cut him off or whatever. And after a couple minutes I'm like, well, maybe he just put cash in the book and I just don't see it. So I walk by and I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this from you. And I took it. And I get up to the computer to go take his payment. I open the book and this man literally just scribbled on the receipt. Was not anything even resembling, nothing even remotely resembling a signature. It was literally just an actual scribble. And at this point I'm thinking, okay, he's drunk for sure. Probably legit thinks that he just paid me. He's probably about to leave. I go up to the guy and he's like, what's going on? And I was like, well, you haven't paid yet. Like, you haven't given me a card to run or anything. You just signed, which he didn't even do that, I think. So he's like, oh, okay. This guy pulls out like probably a stack of credit cards like this thick. And he's like going through them. He's like, hang on, I got it. So anyways, the guy pays me. I go to run his card. It wasn't even like his name on the card. It was like some golf association or something. Anyways, run the card and, you know, give the book back to him. I'm like, thanks, have a good one. And he sits there for like 20 minutes, doesn't say anything. I'm not about to go back up to this guy and see what he wants and why he's still sitting here. So finally he leaves. I go to bust the table. This man left his phone. Happy Cinco de Mayo, y'all. Anyways, so this guy left his phone. I go and give it to the host. I'm like, hey, if anyone's looking for a phone, it was that guy. He left his phone. And I come up to the host stand later and I'm just kind of like hanging out up there and I'm telling like another server about like what had happened, about, you know, how the guy was just like really weird. And one of the hosts was like, oh yeah, like he was asleep on the bench outside, so I was able to give it to him. I'm sorry. Was this guy so drunk that he literally leaves the restaurant only to get out the door and immediately sit down on the bench right outside the door and immediately fall asleep? So I'm like dying laughing at this point. I'm like, oh my god, this guy fell asleep. And we looked out the window and sure enough, he was still there. Like he had just woken up, but this guy had literally fallen asleep on the bench outside. So I was cashing out and I happened to be like telling another server about what had happened. And she's like, oh, is that the guy who fell asleep outside and fell off of the bench? This guy fell off the bench. So that's the last I heard of that guy. I really hope he got home safe. To have to cut somebody off in 15 minutes is a new record for me. So that was basically like the worst of it from Cinco de Mayo. This next story is actually from another restaurant that I worked at. It was actually the last restaurant that I worked at. This one was wild. I almost debated putting this in a separate video because I don't know how long it's going to take. So I answered, like, the phone rang on the register I was at and I answered it. And this lady was like, you know, can I speak with the manager? What's the manager's name going to be in this video? I should expose him. I've got another story about this manager. It's horrible. We'll call this manager Johnny for the sake of this video. So the lady calls and she's like, hi, like, can I speak to the manager, Lonnie or Ronnie? Or I was like, you mean Johnny? And she's like, yeah, Johnny. And I was like, well, he's not here right now, but, you know, the assistant manager's here. Do you want to speak with her? And she was right beside me. So, like, she heard me, you know, ask the customer, did she want to speak with her? So she was, like, kind of standing there in case she, you know, needed to answer the phone. And I asked the lady, I was like, do you want to speak with the assistant manager? And she said, no, that's okay. Like, thank you. I'll call back later. Whatever. She was nice. I was like, okay, cool. Have a good one. Bye. I hung up and the assistant manager was like, oh, she didn't want to talk to me? And, like, obviously she wasn't, like, offended or anything. She was just like, oh, does she, like, not want to speak with the assistant manager? And I was like, no, she didn't want to talk to you. She said she'd, like, call back later. And the AM was like, oh, that's fine. I didn't want to talk to her anyways. Completely joking. Like, I've never heard anyone say that and, like, be, like, dead serious. But I was like, oh, yeah, she didn't want to talk to you. She wanted to talk to Lonnie or Ronnie or whoever. Because that's what she said on the phone. And so we were sitting there laughing about it for, like, a minute, and then we moved on. About 5 minutes later, I get a phone call. I'm on the same register. I answer the phone. Mind you, the last time the phone rang, it said, like, block number, unknown number, whatever. So when I saw the phone ring, I saw that it was the same, like, blocked or unknown number. And I was like, oh, for sure it's probably the same lady. Like, I guess she's just calling back, changed her mind, wants to talk to the manager. I answer the phone. And she's like, hi, is this the same person who I just spoke with? And I was like, look, I don't know, probably. Like, how can I help you? She's like, I just wanted to let you know. I heard everything you said. Immediately, my heart, like, dropped. I started like snapping at the assistant manager and I was like, get over here. Because I completely forgot. The phone by the register I was at, for whatever reason, doesn't automatically hang up when you like put the phone down. Like either you have to like manually hit like end call or the other person has to hang up. For the record though, like what psychopath doesn't just hang up the phone? Like who like intentionally eavesdrops? She's like, I just want to let you know I heard everything you said and like how dare you speak about a customer and like make fun of me that way or whatever. She literally said, I'm a grandmother. How would you feel if someone talked to your grandmother that way? So I'm like trying to like cover, you know, the speaker part on the phone or whatever. So like I'm telling my manager like what's going on while I've got this lady in my ear like yelling at me. I'm just like, just say, you know, just say that like it was she must have overheard somebody like speaking at the register or whatever. She must have overheard some customers talking. Like obviously she didn't buy that because she was on the phone with me, and unless I had her on speakerphone for the whole restaurant to hear, no one would know that she was like, you know, mispronouncing the manager's name. So she was like, well, how would anyone else know, you know, what I said? Like that wasn't anybody else, that was you, that was your voice. Like she knew my name because I had to like say my name when I answered the phone. She's like, you know, tell me like the manager's name, tell me the assistant manager's name. And I just kept on like trying to redirect the conversation. I was like, I'm very sorry if you feel that way. Like the assistant manager was like nowhere near the phone. Like, you know, I couldn't have been her. Like, I'm very sorry. I'm not sure what you think you heard, but like, I'm very sorry if you feel offended. And she's like, okay, Elaine. I'm like, ah. So she's like, okay, Elaine, your manager, like, you know, the guy's name, she's like, he'll be hearing about this. I'm like, all right, you have a nice night. I hang up the phone. I make sure to hit end call so this lady can't eavesdrop anymore. I'm like screaming. Like obviously I know I'm not gonna get in trouble for anything that happened, but like my heart dropped. My anxiety is so bad. I don't do confrontation. I can't handle it. So like 5 minutes later, Johnny calls. And immediately he's just like, let me talk to so-and-so, the assistant manager. And I give her the phone and she gets chewed out like really bad. Like I don't know what happened exactly. Like obviously she didn't get fired or anything, you know, she didn't get in trouble really. I guess it was like kind of like a warning for her, but like she got off the phone and I was like, how much trouble are we in? And she was like, well, you're not in any trouble, but like I am. And I don't really know what happened. Like I said, I assume it was just like a warning or something for her. Yeah. Those were my server horror stories for now. Like I said, I'm going to try and make this a series. And so I've for sure got more stories to tell. So if you like this, please subscribe and be sure to like this video, leave a comment, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.